Stillness is our ability to be grounded and present. And the inability to be grounded and present is the creation of depression and anxiety. If I'm feeling anxious, my body is trying to be somewhere in the future because that's where my mind is. It's creating a quick-paced desire to fix a future problem. So I'm misusing my imagination in that moment. So if I'm in the future trying to solve some unknown problem and I can't get there and I'm looping, then my body is going to try and get to where it can't be. My body can only ever be in the present.
Welcome to the Vital Path Podcast, where holistic health, emotional mastery, and spiritual growth come to life through authentic stories, earned wisdom, and transformative insights from those who inspire what's possible. I'm your host, Andrew Newton, your steward on the journey to clarity, well-being, connection, and vitality. So take a deep breath, relax your body, and listen for what comes alive in you. This is the Vital Path, your invitation to awaken vitality, the missing piece shaping your transformation. Welcome to another episode of the Vital Path Podcast. Today, I am honored to have my guest in studio, Dallas Michael Cyr. He is a transformational coach, has been in the game for over 15 years. He is a psychic intuitive, as well as the creator of the Ignite Your Purpose pathway. It's an entire methodology from purpose to transformation. Thank you for being here today.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Long time coming. Thank you so much for being here today. And with that, let's start. How do you think about purpose these days?
I mean, for me, it's become just the essence of who and what you are. I think it is the cleanest and most succinct way that I can say what our purpose is. I believe if we connect to the vital essence of truly who you are being in this world, that will easily inform everything that you're doing or intended to do. Obviously, for so many years, right, it was all about vocation, especially here in the Western world. You know, what are you doing and what impact are you making and how are you serving? And all of that's beautiful. Yet I believe you can truly show up in a grocery store waiting in line at the checkout, and you can be in and on purpose in that moment with how you show up, how you engage with people, the smile, the energy you're bringing across. It's literally the electromagnetic frequency that we are sending out into the world. After that, man, if you're really allowing that to come through, honestly and authentically, life starts to take care of itself in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you already spoke to this beautiful dance of being and doing and the contrast of that. How do you walk the line of being and doing, and how do you coach other people to find that balance as well?
Yeah, great question. It really is individual. I'll tell you a quick story. I had the honor of and pleasure of sitting with an enlightened being, literally a truly living avatar, as the story goes. Some listeners may or may not be on board with this. That's a-okay.
Bring it.
But I went to I've been to India a couple of times and sat with this being. The story goes that at the age of 14, even prior to 14, this boy was constantly skipping school, just being in constant meditation, constant prayer. Everything in this being's soul was all about devotion and God. And at the age of 14, he's sitting on a bus, and this projection, and I don't know if others saw it. The story goes that I think other people did see it, if I'm recalling correctly. You can find this on the internet, by the way, that this projection of the goddess Narayani came out of his being and said, with your permission, I'm going to kind of take over the vessel or work with you in this lifetime. And from that point on, he sat in meditation for like literally days on end. No food, no water, just complete meditation and stillness, and then started working all of these, what we would term miracles after the fact. And then what I got to see about 10 years later, maybe actually 20 years later, is this amazing city and community that is called Pedam in India, and it's southeast, and it's essentially like multiple temples. There's gardens, there's hospitals, there's orphanages, there's all of this that was birthed out of this being itself. So to kind of to try and put a messy answer to your less messy answer to your question, this specific being would spend days on end just letting the vision come through. Days of what would appear to be doing nothing, to truly connect, one, cultivating the energy within itself to be the vessel and hold the capacity of what got to come through. And then also just being so clear, getting the what we would call in the woo-woo community downloads for what got to be created out of it. In India, he's named her, but not in our, in our the way we do it in our culture. It's because it's they're honoring and their devotion to Narayani, the goddess that is activated within this being. The being is called Sri Shakti Amma, or this person is Sri Shakti Amma. There's more than one Amma. Amma just means mother. But the reason why I bring all of this up and I'm sharing this is because for that purpose, to be in complete meditation and just tune in for days, weeks, even years at a time before there was enough energy and a clear enough vision to come through where everything would just align itself. The people would show up. There was a man in Canada who was at the ashram with me, who explained how his dad met this person, and how he was called during meditation to go to India and work with this being. And then he asked his son, do you want to come? And these were just normal kids in the 90s playing Nintendo. They didn't want to go to, like, why would we want to go there? And then one of them got a message to get in the car now, heard like go now, said, Dad, I'm coming with you. And then from that point on, the number of stories this person told me is mind altering. Now, here in this 3D reality in the Western society, there is a lot of people who will say, nothing will happen unless you're doing. But if everything is ether, everything is consciousness, or everything is energy, they're one and the same. What does doing look like? If I'm meditating and I'm creating in my what we term imagination, it's still the field of consciousness. That is the field of God, is the field of all of creation. Tesla and Einstein and even poets have talked about the power of the imagination, right? And how that is one of the most powerful components that we have. In America, we talk about it like it's just some childhood thing, the innocence of a kid making a picture. Oh, he's got a pretend friend. And we just make it this like menial thing where we just get to be playful and creative. But really, it is the field of all of consciousness and creation. So if I'm in that field and I'm intentionally creating, seeing, feeling, building this beautiful vision for my life, am I not doing? What's the fucking difference? Then when I open up my eyes and I put this vessel into activity, not only do different people show up in my field because of the electromagnetic frequency I'm putting out, but my capacity of what I do, it takes 1/10 of energy to put out 100 times, 100 plus, right? 10x, so to speak, with so much little effort and force, all because I spent that time. Now that dance is individual. That won't be comfortable for somebody depending on their level of consciousness and where they're at and what they're here to create. Someone else, they may spend a year doing only that and then come out and all of a sudden they're making magic, building businesses. I have a good friend who he was living in an ashram style life for 7 years. And then he came out and was sitting on a bench kind of reintegrating to the normal world. And he got an idea for a cell phone technology, went to work at Qualcomm, partnered with Qualcomm, and eventually exited with $600 million. And this was a person who spent 7 years in an ashram, or ashram type of living, like it's very devoted spiritual living, exiting from, our experience of reality. And now he's, doing all right, but he's so aligned, such a beautiful being, heart-centered person. And so, yeah, I think it's really individual, but I think the way we're talking about it now in today's society is, it's interesting. We really still feel like we have to do so much more doing and massive action to make things happen. But I think it's just because we feel compelled to move because we can't be in the silence and the stillness.
Well said. And you took me right to the next piece is
Okay.
stillness is where I wanted to go with this.
Okay.
But before we go there, obviously that was quite a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And appreciate you
Did
going
follow?
straight
Yeah.
in, because there is such a Western lens on what it is to do versus be. We have societally incentivized doing
100%.
in our frantic nature.
Absolutely.
Whilst the lived examples you've experienced in yourself, as well as others, these living avatar type beings who are basically creating worlds in and of themselves through their visions. And what I heard you say so vividly is the doing is actually the cultivation of that imagination through feeling, through thought, through the vividness living into that. So there's so much richness there. And I would love to take it right into stillness, because that to me has become the key, and help people understand the value of stillness in our Western society.
Stillness is our ability to be grounded and present. And the inability to be grounded and present is the creation of depression and anxiety. So if I'm feeling anxious, my body is trying to be somewhere in the future because that's where my mind is, right? It's creating a quick paced desire to fix a future problem. So I'm misusing my imagination in that moment. And I can't get there. It's just like when athletes are replaying their jumps or replaying their golf swing, right? We already know through actual science that the body is firing those electrical signals as if they're actually doing the thing. So if I'm in the future trying to solve some unknown problem and I can't get there and I'm looping, then my body is going to try and get to where it can't be. My body can only ever be in the present. That's right. So stillness is not possible. I'm not grounded in that moment. And I'm feeling anxious because I'm in the would have, could have situation. And I always tell people, if you're going to what if, you might as well what if the best case scenario, because you're making it up either way. Now, depression is when we are feeling depressed and I'm somewhere in the past and the energy is like, it's like pulling me back. And I'm looping on something I wish I could have fixed, and I'm feeling guilt and regret and shame. I'm feeling so heavy, so I'm depressed. And so my body's trying to, it's still living that. And in a somatic way, it feels the heavy, it feels the pain, it feels the sadness. And so I'm not fully here with you. I can't be. I'm somewhere in the past. So once again, ungrounded. I don't have my full capacity to act truly and authentically in the moment. I'm reacting versus responding. It's changing my breath. And if it changes my breath, then it changes my physiology. If it changes my physiology, it changes my biology. And if it changes my biology, it changes my psychology. And so the act of being present and being still gives me a softer, wider vision. It allows me to tap into the field of potentiality. It allows me to be more flexible and fluid, to be more relaxed, to drop into more of myself. The one thing I'll end with this note about stillness is specifically that we're seeing these two dramatic responses to so much activity in the world, so much fear, so much, being bombarded with information, so much comparison through social media, so much feeling of like, there's so much to do. Because of that, we're seeing these two extremes of people taking lots of nicotine, right? I mean, we've got people out there who have conditioned themselves to taking like 25 grams of nicotine, like every 20 minutes, they're putting a new pack in their cheek. Mind blowing. I would be like twitching. But on top of that, they're having multiple coffees throughout the day. On top of that, right? You know what I'm saying? Who knows whatever other stimulants they're taking. And so they're trying to keep pace with this rapid moving world, right? So stillness to them feels like shock. It feels like I'm supposed to be doing what's going on? Something's wrong. Their nervous system is jacked. But then the other extreme is those who their response is to completely check out. I can't keep up. It doesn't feel good. Feels really heavy and alarming in my body. I'm going to go to fentanyl. I'm going to go to heroin. I'm going to go to the thing that's going to allow me to decompress. But I don't want to be still with the thoughts that are coming up when I do that. So I need to be able to be completely checked out. I need to completely disassociate. And that's why we're seeing these massive, what I would consider pandemics. If you want to talk about a real fucking pandemic, these extremes with needing a coffee shop on every single corner and drinking it by the gallon, while we're also doing 20 other stimulants with our, Monsters and 5-hour energy drinks and Red Bulls and nicotine patches, and having to feel like we need to keep up, or feeling like, oh my God, the only way for me to shut down and check out is sleeping pills or some other drug that's going to allow me to shut my nervous system off so I can relax because I'm feeling too much too fast and I can't keep up. So you see these two extremes. All of that is to avoid stillness. And I've had clients where I've had to tell them, like, your boredom is your friend right now. You need to see what's hidden behind that boredom, because that's what you're running from and the problem that you get to solve.
Juicy right there. And building my own personal capacity to be in stillness has just slowly, my unconscious is just unloading little by little after the years of living in that rat race, where it was taking stimulants on this side and then whatever else I could get my hands on to bring me down after a day of full on my nervous system.
Uppers and downers.
Absolutely. It's the seesaw that our entire, the majority of our Western society is on. And coming from a corporate finance background, you having some experience in financial planning as well, how did you begin to get off this hamster wheel and find inner stillness and peace?
The short answer is collapse.
Yeah, same.
I fucking collapsed. I imploded. I've shared this story a lot, but when I was a financial planner, at first I thought I had found an identity, and that's what it was at the time. It validated me. It made me feel as being a poor kid from the hood, not having a college degree. I could get these licenses and be able to genuinely do good work. Like I've always, I believe we come in with a soul's code. There's actually a great book called Soul's Code. It's an actual psychology book. And essentially it talks about the acorn theory, about how you can have even two identical twins, but they come in with their own unique path and version of how they perceive the world, right? Same environment. So the nurture is the same, but the nature is a little bit different because of the acorn theory, right? No two oak trees are the same. So I believe we come in with our own unique code and pathway. So to answer your question, like, for me, I didn't have any sense of like real motivation in my life. I stumbled into becoming a financial planner because I was working in an insurance company and they offered like an incentive to get paid more, in my paycheck, but also get $1,000 bonus if I was licensed, because I would be better in the call center. I'd be more, more educated in the call center, be more knowledgeable to help our clients. And I was like, I'll take the grand, I'll take the raise. That was my only incentive. And then little by little, as I tried to move up the ladder and eventually got stuck because I didn't have a college degree, little did I know that that license would make me attractive to a company. And then they scouted me essentially. And then when I started working with them and started kind of building my own practice within that company, I thought I had found like a real sense of self. Like it really fed my ego, but I always was also heart centered. So I really cared about who I was working with, how I was doing it. It wasn't just about the money for me. In fact, I noticed that my financial incentive um, would only get me so far. Like I would only put in maybe 20% extra effort for the sake of making more money. But if I was going to be seen as the expert in something and feel like people really valued my say, like like my input and my service and just me as a person, that made me feel like, oh, made me feel important, made me feel special. And so wearing my suits and driving the Acura and fucking going into the office and having an assistant and my name on the door and all that shit really validated me. But then what happened was, fast forward 5 years later, and I'm actually starting to finally do okay in it after working my ass off, and I'm being awarded this beautiful, trip, this 5-star resort trip. It was the moment in time when I had like finally reached some pinnacle. Overall the pinnacle was like here in the grand scheme of things, but it felt like here at the moment. But it was a big milestone for me at the time. And at that moment was when I realized, because it was just a long enough pause, just long enough here at this beautiful 5-star resort, waiting to go to the award dinner. There was a long enough pause for me to be like, now what? I got here. It's really not that big of a deal, actually. You know what I mean? And then I started to think about, well, now I got to make that run again. And it sucked and I hated it. And I'm miserable. Why would I want to make that run again? And then that was it. I'm not someone who can operate out of alignment for very long. As soon as I had that awareness, right? Awareness it's what creates the crack in that wall that allows for just enough light or enlightenment for you to realize you are out of alignment. And for me, it don't take much. I can't just shut that off and just go through the motions again. So I imploded, man. I stopped doing everything. All I did was live on whatever little renewals I had built up at the time, credit cards, and I just shopped and golfed until I was literally bankrupt and living in a basement.
Thanks for keeping it real, man.
Yeah. So that at that point, it was just about finding my way out of that hole after I dug it so deep, and I was in a place of suicidal ideation. I was like, man, I need help, and I had already, ironically, hired coaches, and I still ended up in that place. I had already gone to workshops, but it was just this one realization one day. The one that stands out the most that I share is when I recognized, man, I'm learning all of this stuff. I'm reading the books. I'm going to the workshops, and I'm not living any of it. I'm talking about meditation. I'm learning about this. I'm not truly living it. So when that clicked, when that turned around, fucking watch out.
And that's the shift that I think we all are hungry for along the spiritual journey, is when it becomes a lived experience and not just intellectual.
That's right.
So how did that shift happen? And maybe if we could speak to that man somewhere, man or woman out there who's recognizing, wow, I want to live this, but there's still something in the way. What would you speak to that person about?
This is where I kind of reverse engineered my Ignite Purpose program, was getting myself out of that hole. The first voice I heard at one point, where you can call it channeling or downloading, or that level of intuition that came on board, that was so loud it felt different, didn't just feel like a thought anymore. I was like, where'd that come from?
Right.
That was when I heard your challenges are your greatest gifts. That's literally when I heard that statement, and it stuck. I laughed it off because to me at the time, challenges and were obstacles. And yeah, of course, we could overcome them. And if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And if you've got lemons, you make lemonade. And when you look back, hindsight's 2020. So I need some hindsight, but I'm not far enough ahead to have hindsight. This thing that feels like it's killing me, it'll eventually make me stronger. I got some lemonades. I guess I can make, I got some lemons. I guess I can make some lemonade. All of that felt like surface platitudes, but your challenges are your greatest gifts, like those specific words. Why those specific words? How could it be the greatest when it feels like the obstacle to what I want? When it feels like the barrier, how could it be my greatest gift? And so it took time for me to really come to a deep place with that. It took me years, actually. And it's still, there's been many layers of that coming to where I am now. But that was the start. From that point on, I got a really deep awareness of like, what am I doing in terms of my dominant thoughts, emotions, and actions that are leading me to this? Everyone watching and listening, your entire life is made up of what you've been thinking, feeling, and acting in the last 90 days. 90 days. Your seemingly physical reality can be altered anywhere between 30 to 90 days in a way you probably now can't imagine if you were that past me in the basement. So one thing that had to happen is I had to get angry about my situation. Anger is a very healthy emotion if it's stewarded correctly, if it's resourced correctly, versus being pointed at someone. It can be fuel on the fire. And I had to get angry with myself a little bit because I needed to get out of the stage of apathy that I was in. So that got me in motion. Then I hear my challenges are my greatest gifts. So anger turned into curiosity. And I said, well, if I play with this, then that means this bankruptcy is a gift. And that means me being here and being depressed is a gift. And I started to ask the question, well, then if this is a gift, what's here for me in the gift? And it was just that simple statement. What's here for me? That simple question. What's here for me? What's here for me? And I would listen in like a meditative, contemplative space. And I would hear things like, this is the greatest stage and platform you could trampoline off of to be of service. This is you reverse engineering all of the things you know you've been patterned and conditioned from the outside world. You seeing in like real time, 3D, what was taught to you and imprinted on you without you even knowing it on a subconscious level. So now you get to let that go. You get to turn it into a diamond. You get to turn it into a message to be of service to others. It's creating a new level of fortitude in you. It's creating a new level of discipline in you. It's reminding you of what good you have coming out of that previous sales and entrepreneurial background that you just scrapped and threw out like the baby with the bathwater. You're remembering what parts of that is good that you can bring back into your life, along with this new level of alignment. So you can blend the Eastern with the Western, the masculine with the feminine, the brain with the heart. And you can do it in a new way because of this crash. You're learning what it looks like to have lived experience and not just understand these things conceptually. So I just started hearing all of these answers to why I would have created that big black hole for myself. And I'm like, fuck, let's go. And I got really excited. And I would do affirmations with my hand on my heart. So I would be creating an energetic and kinetic felt loop as I spoke. So you can do this now. If you're watching, you can speak with your hand on your heart, A, B, C, D, and you can feel the vibration of your words in your hand. So you feel the vibration, AKA you feel the frequency of your words. You feel the energy of your words. And I would look myself in the eye, right? Because everything internally inside of me is just everything external is just a reflection of the internal. So I would go to the mirror and I would look at myself in my eye and I would say my affirmations like I was convincing that motherfucker in the mirror that he was going to be the baddest, best friggin' human to ever live, and that this situation was temporary and not permanent, and that he was going to rise. He had already risen. that he was rich, that he was successful, that he was happy, that his body was healthy. And I was saying it not like it was true, which is where most people get confused with affirmations. I was saying it like I was convincing my body, like I was awakening and transforming my living cells to take on the new reality. I knew it was something I was living into. Most people with affirmations like, but I don't feel it. No, duh. Of course. That's the act into it, believe into it, speak into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say to that person. You get to, one, understand that it is your greatest gift, whatever you are facing right now, and that there is a reason that your soul asked to be on this journey. And you can quiet your mind, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Set an alarm every day for just 2 minutes and just ask, what is here for me in this? In this, no other words, just what is here for me in this. And you're listening for the internal messages that say your highest good, a new level of forgiveness, a deeper level of love, a new relationship that's even better than you thought possible. You're listening for your soul to speak to you. And it's at first, it's just going to be like, oh, that's just my mind telling me thoughts. Maybe it's more. Maybe it becomes more. And then from then on, you just have to stop intellectualizing and really start doing the things that you know that are right for you. When I got that level of awareness, I went into looking at the conditioning of my parents. I then went into getting really loving and grounded and accepting of all that I had been through. A whole new level of embracing my reality and loving my personal experience and forgiving all those who I thought had harmed me, to take me completely out of victim mode. I got clear of what I wanted my vision to be, and I designed it with purpose, with intention, clear intention. And then I act accordingly, aligned action. And that became literally the principles and the modules for my coaching.
Profound. There's immense amount of gold in there.
Yeah.
And that beautiful challenges are your greatest gifts. I've gotten to live into that and had the great gift of seeing that in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a reconciliation of the soul to be able to see that in the present moment and honor all of those past, what seemed like mistakes. So what a beautiful piece there, and so profound in that true spirituality is simplicity. And you got that golden nugget right there at such a pivotal moment in time. What a beautiful invitation. And kind of parlaying off of that piece, you mentioned victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
And as a collective consciousness, we've got so much of that here and now. If we can just get one person who's listening out of victimhood, how would you invite somebody to empower themselves from victim consciousness above?
You know, it's really challenging because we get to be careful not to invalidate someone's emotion and someone's experience. Your experience is real. Absolutely. Your perception of an event, being beaten or robbed or raped or heartbroken or a parent leaving or whatever it is, someone dying, your experience of that is real. And you get to understand that it's real through whatever level of consciousness and whatever layer of perception you experienced it in at that time. There's a reason why an event can occur to you, can happen to you, and you have one story about what it means. That same event could happen to me, and I could potentially have a whole other story. So it's no less valid, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the ultimate truth. So that's what I believe that takes us out of victimhood, is when you are willing, and I mean this so gently, are you willing to see that there's another possibility, another perspective, another version of the story? That's phase one. And it's not to invalidate your experience of it, but do you want to stay there? Do you want to, is that story serving you? Does it feel light or does it feel heavy? Does it feel like it's projecting you forward or holding you back? And so from that point, you get to then decide, well, what do I do with this experience and this story? And if the other perspective could be as true or even more true, then man, maybe I could just let my version of the story go. Because in some level of time, quantum physics will tell us that every single thing is happening all at once. Time is not linear. And so that one version of you that says, I was the victim, that happened to me because of this, you can turn it into, I co-created that on a soul level before coming into this incarnation because I was meant to learn this and then give this to the world. And I wouldn't have done that as passionately and powerfully had that experience, painful as it was, real as it was, not occurred. And I co-created that. And if I'm the co-creator or the full creator of anything, how can I then be the victim? Now, depending on what somebody experienced, there's layers to that and levels to your ability to get to a level of acceptance and forgiveness where that can be a felt sense in the body versus just like, fuck that. That person should have never, and it can be a tough road. I'll say this a lot of times, we are creating stories that are like little T traumas. They're not the big traumatic war and death and all of that. And those little T's can feel just as severe and serious as the big T traumas. But I think we've gotten pretty overly sensitive and fragile in a lot of ways. And so I'm very much a proponent of anti-fragility. You know, I was a latchkey kid. I grew up in a time when you just disappeared for hours. Like I was just talking with a friend the other day. I was remembering hearing this on a podcast. It might have been Rogan, where it was like, when was the last time you saw a kid with a cast? Like, we've got all these helicopter parents and everyone's bubble wrapped, and it's like, Christ almighty. Let your kid fall, for Pete's sake. Back up. Because of the gift of social media is that, like, we know so much more about the darks of the dark evils of the world. But ironically, we're also safer. Technically, in most places on the planet, violence and crime has gone down. But we feel like it's everywhere all the time. That is engineered. That is on purpose. That is creating a fuel, I believe, for certain sources to continue for us to be in chaos. But the reason why I say that is because it then puts us in such fear that we have to every kid, like, now we have to have play dates where the parents are literally in the room with the kids while they're playing. It's like, holy shit. Drop them off at the mall and just go, man. Like I remember the days I would just be gone on my bike for hours. And the old adage was like, hey, come home when the lights are on, when the street lights come on. And I'm not saying it has to be all that. And, of course, teach your kids and guide your kids. But I bring this up because that level of fragility can also create a whole new level of victimhood that's like imagined. All this fucking story making and meaning making that we are constantly doing with everything out there, right? You're traumatizing me because you're not using my pronouns. It's like, no, I'm not traumatizing you. I'm just not validating whatever story you have of yourself, and I'm not required to. It doesn't mean I don't love you or I hate you or I'm phobic in any. I mean, I couldn't be, for me personally, I can be farther from that. Mm-hmm. I'm literally growing up in the 90s when I'm at house clubs hanging out with friggin', drag queens, and I'm breakdancing and doing house dancing, and they're voguing, and it was like, it was life. I was loving it, man. And now it's like, but back then no one was requiring me to use their pronouns to validate them. And for me, I'm like, I could just meet Ken, and Ken could just meet Dallas, and we would just hang out at the club, and it was just like, you know what I'm saying? So I might have gotten a little off track, but I really do feel that we have become so fragile and so self-identified that is creating a very different type of victimhood. right? Like,
An entitled victimhood
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference in the shade of victimhood that is of the younger generation right now.
I mean, I'm watching documentaries about the Vietnam War, and just I think sometimes we need to remember our history to get perspective. Watching these 18-year-olds in the Vietnam War, and you see them come home, or you see how they communicate their experience at that time and what was happening to them. And I'm sharing this because, like, when they come home and they're practically like, disavowed from their own country, and people who were anti-war are spitting on them like it was their freaking fault that they were there doing what their country was requiring them to do. Many of them were drafted. Like, if that person feels some sense of victimhood, even that person, I'd like to help them understand how to get out of victimhood. But that seems a little more validating, right? Than someone else, and they're a furry and they're feeling bad because I'm not honoring the fact that they want to be a mouse in that, a mouse in in a furry costume. I'm using an exaggerated example for a reason. So yeah, it's like this level of entitlement, and that this level of like sensitivity and fragility that doesn't allow me to truly meet the person anymore, versus meeting some character and some level and some label. And I know that feels so real for them, and so a lot of times my heart goes out to them. I'm not so quick to say that it's all disillusion and psychosis, but it does feel ungrounded and unreal in a lot of ways, and it feels like more of a defense mechanism than a truth. And so that can create a lot more victimhood. And it's really challenging for us to unwind this right now, because that's not only being given permission, it's actually being like praised in so many ways. And it's really creating us to be fractured as a human race. So
And I love the ground we just laid for that. For the second discussion, maybe we can discuss some of the larger socioeconomic, historical factors at play that are causing some of these ruptures in our society and our psyche at large collectively. And just to land the plane as far as this pod, I have two questions that I love to ask folks. What is a prayer, or what is a vision that you have been living into that you haven't seen come true yet?
divine partnership. And I won't say it didn't come true. I've had some really amazing partners. And I'm no longer attached that just because you are in a relationship, if it doesn't go until death do you part, that it's somehow a failure. I don't believe that. I don't have that story anymore. And yet, I really want my soul partner. I really want my beloved. I know she exists. I know she has a dark sense of humor, and she's witty and sarcastic, but also heart-centered and spiritual. I know that, I can kind of see her and feel her in such a strong way. And I've had partners, literally one that's, we still call each other beloveds, and we had a conscious uncoupling at one point, and it was beautiful. And I feel like in many ways we're almost closer. And so we had a very special union, and together we went really, really deep, a lot of healing, a lot of growth, and I love her so much. And I do feel like there's that and more that is coming that I desire now. And it's been something I've been really holding on my heart for a while.
Well, maybe so.
Yeah.
And if she's listening, where can she find you?
Yeah.
Quick plug.
Yeah. IG, Dallas Michael Cyr. Yeah, just look me up, Dallas Michael Cyr. DallasCyr.com.
And there's a beautiful truism that you've brought to me in the relationship space that I love, presence. It's essentially that the honeymoon phase in conscious relationship happens later. You have a little bit more you want to add to that? Such a beautiful piece.
Yeah. When you are, it's so, doesn't it feel that way, right? It's like when you're more conscious, aware, you're people who are doing work on yourselves and doing your healing journey. There's less desire to ignore the red flags and less desire to just stay surface level and hide things. And so you almost are excited to put the real you out front and be like, bitch, take me as I am, love it or leave it. And of course, I believe there's a very kind, loving way to do that, and an authentic way to do that, not an in your face way to do that where it's about, about you. But a way where it's like, no, this is the real and raw me. And, you tend to go into these deeper, more heartfelt conversations first. You tend to burn in the flames of your desire and passion to truly be real and be connected and be transparent with each other. You burn in the flames all of the shit that is not you. And so in the beginning, it oftentimes, even though there still gets to be play and passion, it gets to be lighter. A lot of times what comes up is all of the real raw work that would typically happen a year or two later, if ever, in your typical relationship. In a conscious relationship, it comes up fast, furious, and in the beginning. But then when you're able to really move through that, hold each other through that, learn how to navigate that, then you go into the forever honeymoon phase. It should be reversed, right? In so many relationships, it's like in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's like you don't really know all the cracks and all the different things. And then you learn it, and now you got to go, oh my God, who are you? What is this? Conscious relationship kind of puts that on its head, flips it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And last question is, what is a generational prayer or dream that you are not likely to see in your lifetime?
I believe that we're the builders of the Rainbow Bridge. There are many different prophecies that we're seeing: the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, the Rainbow Tribe. I don't know that we will see the true golden age of that in our life, in this generation. I know there are many who believe they're already living it, and they think it's going to happen in the next 30 years or even less. I do know time is moving faster, quite literally. Again, a quantum science thing where as the universe expands, creates a larger and larger vacuum, and it can feel like time is speeding up. Things feel like they're moving rapidly. Even just with the bombardment of information, it can feel that way. And so I say that because who knows? Maybe there will be this crazy hockey stick jump after we move through the 2027 portal, and by 2030, the world is like none of us can imagine, and all of a sudden we trigger the full 12-strand DNA in our bodies, and we're all walking around in these light bodies, and it's the next evolution of humanity, and we're able to live 1,000 years, and all these different stories that a lot of my friends and teachers are speaking into. But I don't know if we'll see that in our lifetime or not.
I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
That's it.
What a beautiful prayer. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
what a gift of talking about everything from victimhood to the importance of silence, learning about what it's like to sit with an enlightened master, all of the way to conscious relationship alchemy. I mean, what an incredible, wide-ranging conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate you.
Hope to do this soon. God bless you, man. Thank you for tuning in to the Vital Path podcast. Let me know what landed for you in the comments. Until next time, God bless, and go live your life.